Hey guys, I'm John Ritzar from WatchSpec.com. Today I would like to talk about the Spinnaker Dumas. This video will highlight just the key points, but I do have a written article over at WatchSpec.com that's got all the detail on this watch, so you're going to want to check that out. It's got all the spec tables as well. It goes through all the detail on the style, the movement, every single detail you could imagine it is in there. There is a link below the video, so check that out. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. You don't want to miss any of my content. And with that, let's get started. Spinnaker is a niche micro brand with a design specialty for yachting watches or watches designed somehow in connection to the sea. This model specifically is the Dumas. It is named after Frédéric Dumas, who is a famous diver and underwater pioneer. He's most notable for working with Jacques Cousteau, appearing in some of Cousteau's films. And he worked with Jacques Cousteau in the invention of the diving regulator, which is equipment still used today. Frédéric Dumas is an appropriate figure to commemorate this tool diving watch. So let's get into the details of this. Let's talk about the movement. The Dumas applies the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. I always call this the reliable workhorse. It's very reliable. It's one of the most popular automatic movements in the world, found in a lot of micro brands based on its performance for money value. This movement's basically an unbranded version of the Seiko 4R35, which is used in a lot of the Seiko Prospex watches. This movement is Japanese manufactured. It operates at 6 beats per second, has a 41-hour power reserve. Regulation is possible if needed. It's hackable. It has hand winding. It contains 24 joules. Accuracy is not officially reported by Spinnaker for this watch, but I would expect you will see within plus or minus 20 seconds per day accuracy. The watch I have for review is seeing 10 seconds per day slow, which is not great, but it's very reasonable. And finally, a date complication is included on this. The date changeover begins around 10:20 p.m. and snaps over sharply at 12 a.m. So let's move to style. There's no doubt that the Dumas is very bold in its styling. I love the layered and angular aesthetic of it. This look is inspired by the Omega Seamaster Sham that was produced for the French Marines back in the 1970s. The case is stainless steel and it has octagonal sidewalls, which gives it a really angular theme. This case also has hidden lugs to maintain that octagonal profile. The only exception to that is the crown guards. These guards themselves are very angular in shape, and I love the look of these. The case measures 43 millimeters across and 48 millimeters top to bottom, and the thickness, including the bezel, comes in at 15 millimeters. Lug width for the band measures 22 millimeters. This is a hefty piece, and it's meant to be so. This watch is designed to stand out and really make a statement. I should also mention the case back contains an exhibition glass window so you can see the movement and the decorated rotor inside. The dial is my favorite aspect of this watch. It starts with that really crisp white base. Markers are added to the dial through a secondary applied ring that you'll see on the outer edge of the dial. This ring also adds a layer of depth, and even the ring itself has multiple layers, with the hour markers and date window rising up above the rest of the ring. These hour markers are very large, so they can't be missed. They're filled with white loom and edged in a navy blue. To help track orientation, 12 o'clock includes a double rectangle, where 6 and 9 o'clock include a single rectangle. The 3 o'clock position is taken by the date window. Just inside each hour marker are the numbers 13 through 24 to help support military time. Minute and second markers are printed on the secondary applied ring with a thick red tick every 5 minutes and a thin navy tick every minute. I love the touch just above 6 o'clock with automatic in a really thin red font with 1,000 feet, 300 meter just below that in navy. I think it looks fantastic against that white dial. This white, navy, and red theme is fantastic on this watch, and the hands take this even further. The minute hand is the first to catch your attention. Just like the Seamaster Sham, not only is this a massive white loom sword, but it's trimmed in bright red for an exciting flare. The hour and second hands are more reserved in relation to this minute hand and consists of white loom with navy trim. The lens on this is a scratch-resistant sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. This crystal is flat and sits level with the edge of the bezel, and the clarity is really top-notch. The bezel is a really nice touch on the Dumas. It is a navy mineral crystal bezel insert with lume markings and a gloss finish. The gripping edge is a polished stainless steel with embossed rectangles, which is a design that reflects lines of light onto the top surface of the case in certain light. The bezel markers are all lume filled with a triangle at 12 o'clock, a major tick every 5 minutes, and minor tick every 1 minute between 0 and 15 minutes. It's a great looking bezel. The crown on this doesn't disappoint. It's 5.5 millimeters across and 7 millimeters in diameter. Great proportion to the size of the case. The gripping surface has those cut grooves, a look that actually ties into the bezel's gripping surface. The outer surface of the crown is very unique. It has what appears to be a white mineral crystal insert with the Spinnaker sail emblem inside. Very nice touch. Also a touch following the sham is the shark mesh band on this. The band is 22 millimeters wide, which is a great proportion to the case. However, this thing is super thick, coming in at 4 millimeters thickness. It's really pushing that muscular and bold image, and the machine steel hardware do their part for this image as well. This clasp is a very robust fold-over deploying style with brushed finished and engraved Spinnaker logo. The band also includes an all-metal loop catch to support the excess strap on the open end. It's got a very strong look, but it's going to be too much for some out there, especially considering the band thickness moves up to 8 millimeters, where the band overlaps itself. That's quite thick. In this case, it's good to know how an alternate strap would work, such as a NATO that I've put on here. I think a NATO looks fantastic on the Dumas, almost like it was meant for it. Something to note, based on the hidden lug structure, the gap between the spring bars and the case is actually quite tight, so not all straps are going to fit on this. Even with a very thin nylon strap, as I have on this watch, the spring bars need to be removed in order to attach the strap. So changing the strap is not a quick endeavor, but in my opinion, it's well worth it. Not only for the style, but also for comfort and usability, as we'll talk about later. So for the overall style, I think this watch looks fantastic. It's a bit of an homage, but it offers these different color options and some unique touches of its own. It really makes it clear that this is a diverse tool watch, first and foremost. The octagonal profile and that retro 70s feel is something I really appreciate as well, similar to the Seiko Turtle that I've reviewed in the past. As a result, this watch is going to work best in a casual setting, most comfortably paired with a diving suit or a t-shirt. It's not meant to be used in a dressier situation. You can do so if you really want to make a statement and add some edge to whatever your occasion, but overall you're going to want to keep it on the casual end. Now let's talk about usability. Usability is what this watch was built for. Starting with water resistance, this thing is a dive watch. It's meant to be used in the water. The water resistance is rated to 300 meters, which is really impressive. Spinnaker doesn't mention that this is an ISO 6425 certified dive watch, but there are a lot of indications in the design that lead you to believe that it might actually meet that certification. I'll ask that you check out the written article to see the areas where the Dumas does meet the ISO certification and areas where it's a little bit unknown. But even without knowing this for sure, there's no denying that the water resistance rating is very robust and it's meant to be worn diving. The crown supports this with its screw down design, and with the crown size and gripping surface, it's very easy to use. Readability of this watch is no problem whatsoever. It offers great contrast between the hands, markers, and the dial, especially with the size of the markers in the hands. Very easy to read, and these hands point all the way to their respective markers, eliminating any guess as to the exact marker that they're pointing. In terms of a dive watch, the minute hand is the most important aspect. So the diver can calculate how much oxygen they have remaining. Spinnaker was very smart to adopt this design with a very large and bright red minute hand that stands out more than the others. The sapphire crystal provides fantastic clarity, especially with that anti-reflective coating. So you're not going to catch any glare or distortion, and sapphire provides the best scratch-resistant durability out of any of the crystal options out there. The bezel supports readability as well, with all the markers on here, as well as the ability to track orientation with the triangle and the larger rectangle markers at 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. The rotating bezel Also provides the ability to track time in a second time zone or track elapsed time as well, which is helpful. The lume on this watch is Swiss Superluminova, and it's found in each hand, each hour marker, and every single marker on the bezel. This Superluminova is very impressive with its very bright and crisp appearance, and has that beautiful blue-green hue. You're not going to have any issue reading the time in the dark with this. And that huge lume sword hand over the white dial on this model causes the entire dial around the minute hand to glow as if it were backlit, which is a very cool aesthetic. This lume also lasts a very long time. Of course, the initial high-level brightness fades in the first 15 minutes or so, but the low-level lume will remain all night. Okay, the bracelet. This has the shark mesh strap with the point clasp, and it provides a good amount of adjustability to sizing to your wrist appropriately, and it can be adjusted without the need for any tools. The clasp itself is very easy to open and close, and it provides a very secure feel. The downside of this bracelet is the excess portion. Spinnaker does provide that metal strap loop, but this loop tends to travel during normal wear, allowing the free end to hang off the wrist. Also, it's difficult to put the watch on and set this loop at the same time. It requires some awkward sliding and finagling, which can be troublesome. Let's talk about comfort. Now, it's hard for comfort not to be affected by such a bold and strong watch design, and the Dumas does succumb to this. It's true that this case wears large with the 44 by 48 millimeter profile and 15 millimeter thickness, not to mention that 4 millimeter thick shark mesh that we talked about. This large size contributes a good amount of weight, coming in at a hefty 7.2 ounces or 204 grams. However, the bracelet is the cause of almost all the trouble in the comfort area. Of this total weight, over half, 103 grams, is attributed to the band itself. The remaining 101 grams is in the case. That's why swapping the bracelet for a NATO or other lightweight strap is highly recommended. Not only does it cut the weight in half, but it takes away the metal edges of the shark mesh that can rub on the skin, and it holds the watch much more comfortably to the wrist. After doing this, I am so surprised how comfortably this watch wears. It's really on par with any of my other watches. While the bracelet is also the major concern for sliding the watch under your cuff, the case itself also presents some difficulty just based on its dimensions. Again, that's why this watch works best in casual environments and it's not meant to be dressed up. Also, based on these dimensions, those with small wrists might have some trouble wearing the Dumas. That's something you'll have to decide for yourself. Many people like to wear a very large watch just to make a statement, but I'm going to say that this watch is going to work best for those with average to large size wrist. Overall, comfort is the downfall of the Dumas, but it's something that can be corrected with the replacement of the bracelet. Okay, let's end with value and verdict. The Spinnaker Dumas is definitely a watch designed with function in mind, but there are a lot of positives that go into this package. First is the water resistance. 300 meters, you could have confidence taking this into the water. The styling supports that usability, great readability, the style looks great. It has that retro 1970s feel that pays homage to the Omega Seamaster Sham. It has sapphire crystal for great clarity and durability. It's got the Swiss Superluminova, fantastic lume on this watch, fantastic. And it's in every hour marker, each hand, and every marker of the bezel, which is a great touch. It looks fantastic. It's got the NH35 Japanese automatic movement, which I call the workhorse of a movement. And you get a 2-year warranty with this watch, which is really impressive. This watch, however, is not without its faults. We talked about the shark mesh bracelet on here. It's really a negative in the categories of comfort and usability. This watch is selling for $400 US. I would say that's a fair price. You do have to factor in the cost of replacing the strap. For me, I put on a really cheap NATO on this, and after I do so, it's very comfortable, easy to use, and I just love the way it looks on the NATO. So that's something that works for me. At that price, you'll have to decide if that's something that you're willing to do as well. If you are interested in the Dumas for yourself, I will leave a product link in the notes below the video. Don't forget to check out the written article over at watchspec.com. It's got a lot more detail on this watch than what's in this video. There is a link to that in the notes below the video. Please give this video a like if you found it helpful. Subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications, share the channel with your friends. I would really appreciate that. And please leave your comments down below as well. I love hearing what you guys think. And with that, Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.